work. You go on my end.
Amazing.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Looks like we're all here.
Yes, we are.
Gonna open the public comment 6 p.m.
Yep, I got 6.
Okay, is there any public comments?
I'm
Not yet.
on mine.
Okay, student and staff recognition, the Winnie Dip.
So we are here this evening with an opportunity to recognize our Winnie Dippers. So a little information that was shared right after the Winnie Dip that happened in March, I believe, late March.
It was cold.
Yeah.
Yes. There was still snow on the ground.
Yes.
So this was written by Dr. Downing, who unfortunately is not able to be here this evening, but she wrote, "We could not be prouder of this amazing group of students and educators. This group raised an incredible $14,596.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Interlakes earned first place for overall fundraising for a high school. We also had the top 3 individual fundraisers. Our very own Officer Keith True raised $4,005. And Skylar Clark raised $2,044. And Hayden Hebron raised $1,543. So Interlakes earned the highest donations per high school dipper. All of the proceeds benefit the Special Olympics. A very special thank you to Jacqueline Clark for organizing this incredible event for our students. Go Lakers. And I don't know if anybody has anything you would like to personally share about the experience that might be helpful to have people get a little flavor for what it was like to jump in the lake.
You guys got it? Claire, you got anything to share? No.
Just that it was cold.
A lot of courage, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and Mix 94-1 was there, Fred Caruso, and so he called out one of our students. We have a bunch of students who are in sports who couldn't be here tonight, but Joey Doda was coming out of the water and he wasn't fully drenched. He got called out by 94-1, so he went back and jumped fully in.
Fully in, wow.
And no, it was such a great day. Lots of fun. We had a great time.
Wonderful. Well, we have some certificates, so maybe I can ask for a little help. Mrs. Clark, would you help? And maybe Chair Merrill, you can do handshakes.
Sure.
I'll do announcements and we'll pass them down. There we go. Put you over here on the left. I'll do we'll start with Mrs. Clark.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Heather Anderson.
Not here.
Tonight. Ashley Clark. Congratulations. And let's get Skylar to come up too.
Sure. Yeah. Tyler and George.
Speedy mode. Speedy mode.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Skylar.
Thank you. Oh, George, yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Preston Claire.
Not
Is Preston not here tonight? Claire Clark.
Congratulations.
Ben Dennis. Congratulations, Ben. And it was party like 1999. Unfortunately, a year I remember. Jesse Horn.
No.
Here. Colleen Forkel's not with us, she's a staff member. Steph Aaron,
No.
okay. Estelle, good
No.
tonight. Hayden Hebron,
Nope.
okay. Addie, okay.
Sports.
Brandon,
No.
Sports.
Matthew,
That would be 6.
Sumner.
Yes.
Right, Sumner. we have Mrs. Mutafin.
Nope, she's not
Okay.
here. So I think
Trace-
the only one is Officer True.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we have
We had
one?
a lot of people.
I see Officer True in Officer True, I apologize. I think when the list came over, but we all need to do a standing ovation for
Yes.
Officer True. Because he was responsible. I promise you I would deliver it. And maybe with a Dunkin' Donuts coffee. So thank you to everybody for making this
Thank you.
such a great annual event. So this is becoming an annual event. I have to tell you the energy in the building. So everybody came out and lined the hallways. All the Winnie Dippers came walking down the hallway in their pink jerseys, ready to go. And there was a vibration in the school. So something to be really proud of that Interlakes does. And Mrs. Clark has really helped to get that energy going. So
Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
thanks for your
much.
support. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a
All right,
great
thank you.
evening.
Mary, what's the name of the club?
So it's not a particular club. It's people getting together
Is it
to
an event?
participate for the Winnie Dippers. We do have unified sports that
Okay,
some
that's-
kids are involved in.
Okay, that's what I was
But
thinking
it's
of,
kind
yeah.
of grew out of that, so
Uh-huh.
it's more Mrs. Clark kind of getting some
That's cool.
good energy around the Special Olympics.
And last year they just poured water over themselves.
Yes, last year because of COVID,
Right.
they did not go down to the shoreline with other people,
Uh-huh.
and they just poured buckets over their own heads. So this is a little more celebratory, I would say.
Well, under the circumstances, it was pretty creative.
It
Yes,
was
and
very
it's-
creative,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great
Yeah.
cause, absolutely great cause.
Beach balls and things.
Okay,
It was great.
Interlake Student Board Representative, Paulo, for an update.
So our Laker of the Month is Charlotte Dupre. We'd like to thank our Laker of the Month sponsor, Hermit Woods. Spring sports are now in full swing and the weather is looking fantastic. 7th grade is heading to Cape Cod on April 18th to 21st to Nature's Classroom Camp, Wingate, Kirkland. Our math team had our last event at Newfound. We came in 2nd place, and our overall for the season is 1st place. Well, yeah. And then our
I think that's
And Paolo, you're on that team?
I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, and we also had our state meet on March 12th at NHTI for FBLA. We went to Manchester for March 23rd and came back on March 24th. For robotics, our first competition was held at Rhode Island on March 11th, all the way to the 13th. We finished 3rd out of the 30 teams for qualifiers. Our mentor, Mr. Derek, was nominated for the Woody Flowers Award, and this award is meant for mentors and celebrates effective communication in the arts of science and engineering and design. Our second competition was 2 weeks from the Rhode Island event, so from March 24th to March 26th at UNH. We finished 3rd out of the 41 teams that were there for qualifiers. We made it to the semifinals for the playoffs, and the Laker Bus won the Sustainability Award. The Sustainability Award is it's a type of award for the team that teaches them how to engage members, potential members, and sponsors into robotics. This helps prove that the robotics program in our community will last for a while. And then district championship on April 5th to the 8th. We finished 3rd out of the 45 teams in our division for qualifiers. We made it to the semifinals and the playoffs. And all of this leads up to the biggest moment in the Laker Bots history. The Laker Bots qualify for the world championship. They will have a standoff on Friday the 14th, and they'll be going to Houston, Texas to compete. The Laker Bots are still seeking donations to help fund the Houston trip. Go Laker Bots!
Go Laker Bots.
Do you know what time on the 14th, Paula?
On the 14th,
For the
The
send
send-off.
off for the Laker Bots?
it's like during office hour.
Okay,
So like
I can get the time and
problem.
I'll send that out to
Yeah,
the
sure.
board in
Yeah.
case you want to
Yes,
go and
yeah.
help wish them well.
Paolo, does somebody have to drive that Laker bot to Houston, Texas? Or you put it on a plane?
yeah, plane.
You put it on a plane?
I,
The robot goes
I
up.
think
I mean, Rebecca
FedEx,
should. Yeah.
and I might be wrong,
No, you're
so,
right.
but I think FedEx is shipping it for free.
Okay.
Really?
I think around the world.
Joe Derrick had that.
Yeah, okay, all right, so my memory is serving me well.
All right, so there's a spring concert on April 13th. There's one performing at 8:30 a.m., one during office hour, and one at 7 p.m. And there's a spring dance on April 15th, just like on a Saturday. And that concludes my update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great.
So moving along to business of the board, committee assignment and interests, attachment 1. Anybody would like to give me your
Yeah.
CPI?
CPI and facilities, CIP and facilities.
CIP and facilities. Negotiations. Anybody?
Can I do the safety?
Yeah, how many do we need for safety?
So I think we said 2, and I think Mr. Porter Zuckerman and Mr. Hanson had indicated they were,
Yeah, the last one.
3 would probably start becoming a committee.
Yeah, that would be. So we have, isn't policy review?
I'll trade you safety for policy if you
So if we look at attachment 1, sick bank is also, right, Mary?
Yes, sick bank.
Sick bank, would you?
Sure.
That's
There's also, I don't know, the Region 8 Advisory Committee. That is
I'm
with
sorry,
the
say
Hewitt,
that again.
the Hewitt Center.
Ooh, that's great.
That's a
I would like that one.
You want that one?
I want that.
Not the
nice
sick bank?
connection with some of,
Yes.
You got it.
So the Hewitt. Okay, we still need sick bank. Anybody want to do sick bank?
I'm doing policy review, safety,
Me too.
and I'll do, if nobody else wants to do it, I'll do sick bank.
I mean, I can do sick bank. Are you? Right,
I do policy review,
you
that's
want to do
fine.
policy? Okay, so we have 3 for policy review.
and negotiations, you have Mrs. Skarmer,
I'll
Mr. Billis.
Throw into there.
I'll do that too.
End up there anyways.
Charlie, same team.
Okay,
You
so,
wanna do 3 kids?
Whatever.
okay, so
I
that
have a lot
would
of
be
time on my hands.
Nancy, Mark, and Charlie.
On negotiation?
Yes.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Got that?
Unless one of you guys, one of the people wants to do it.
Okay. I think that we've covered all of them, right?
New Hampshire School Boards Association delegate,
Who wants to be the
the
delegate?
assembly. It's, I think it's in the fall now. It's a,
It's usually the rookie.
I was just gonna say, we volunteer for that.
and you don't support always putting things on the new person.
No, I mean, the
That's it.
stuff you learn from it.
It is good.
It's, a lot of people
As a
say it's a
first year.
positive
It
experience.
is.
It's typically on a Saturday and it's a full day.
It's a
Just
full
as
day
an
on a
FYI.
Saturday.
I did it.
Well, I all did it.
We all have to do
Not
that.
all of us.
I think Duncan should,
I'll be honest, if I.
once.
Just one,
You've got a lot of
one day.
I'll do that.
You wanna do
Well,
it?
no,
Yeah,
I
go.
And you don't have to decide, you know,
You don't
have
have
a
to decide now.
question.
Sure.
How many Saturdays? How
It's
often?
one.
It's just the one.
Oh, yes, okay, that's fine, I'll do that. I can find childcare
It's a full
for
day.
Saturday.
and you basically what they do is you're deciding what amendments or things that the New Hampshire School Board Association should focus on for the coming year.
Okay.
And usually it's helpful if the board discusses that in advance because you're really you're voting as a delegate of the Interlake School Board.
And there's a lot of right to know first.
And there's,
I
you
learned
know,
that last night.
Okay,
I did the orientation.
changes to the 2023, 2024 school board schedule, Mrs. Moriarty.
so just the schedule we had shared last week, we went back over and I think that following the pattern from this year, we should have put Tuesday, November 14th and February 13th. Those are the second Tuesdays of the month. So we just made the correction compared to what we shared with you last week.
Okay, perfect.
This would keep it the same pattern, the second and the, what is it, the fourth Tuesday of the month.
So we need a motion.
That would be helpful.
Seconded.
Discussion?
Charlie and Duncan. All those in
Wait,
favor?
I have discussion.
Oh,
on
I'm
this one.
sorry.
Just as a point, right, we always get this calendar confused with school calendars and vacations and everything like that. Any of these, looking at the calendar that was at the attachment 12, right?
This is the school calendar.
Right, so we don't have any
No.
issues with the day after vacation ends or during vacation?
Yeah, and this does not include the annual school district meeting. These are just school board meetings. That was the one conflict with that had happened. So that will be proposed in the fall.
Okay.
So you are
Any
gonna have
other
an early August
questions?
meeting.
Are we ready to vote on the motion?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, minutes. March 21st, regular school board meeting minutes.
So moved, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Any questions or?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a typo. On page 5 of 8. Fourth paragraph down, the family's name of Gus is Kush. There's an extra is. It's Kushis, is a former Sandwich Central student, and the name is just incorrect.
Oh, so we're just fixing the name?
Yeah, it's just a typo.
Just a typo. Anything else? All those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
And we see that as an edit, not an amendment.
It's an edit.
Yeah.
Okay, March 31st, special school board meeting minutes. That's attachment 4.
Motion to approve.
Mark, second.
Second.
Any questions or edits? All those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Right. Okay, April 5th, special school board meeting minutes. That's attachment 5. I know there's a lot.
There's a typo in it.
Okay, well, we need a motion in a second, then we.
Motion to approve the April 5 school board meeting minutes.
Second.
Nancy, okay, we found something.
Yeah, and in the red lettering, it says March 31st
Just on the agenda.
On the agenda.
on the agenda.
We'll fix that. Other than that, edit, correction, are there any, are you guys ready to vote or?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to just commend Heather. She's been doing a
I know,
really
Heather.
nice job
Heather,
keeping
this
up
is
with a
amazing.
lot of minutes, including
It's a
Ashley.
lot.
So
Not your fault.
she's
I
turning
keep
them
them
around
straight.
really quickly.
No, this is
Very helpful.
This is great. Okay. Current bills payable. So general operating expenses, that is attachment 6 in your packet, manifest 3029.
So moved.
Seconded by Charlie. Any questions on the manifest? All those in favor of
Aye.
paying bills? Okay. Going into old business. So ILSD, the elementary and second school emergency relief 3, the ESSER 3, safe return in-person instruction and continuity, I can't talk, of service, action items, Mrs. Moriarty.
So we are required technically every 6 months to just have you review this. And if you want to make changes, propose changes, if you feel that this is still appropriate, just acknowledge that.
Okay.
So that we can share that with if we're audited, that we have done that.
You want a motion
Motion to maintain.
acknowledge?
Yes.
I make a motion to acknowledge and maintain.
I'll second it.
Oh, good. Is there any discussions, questions? Ready to vote on it? All those in favor?
Aye.
Under correspondence, superintendent, board secretary, board members, I just wanted to let everybody know, and I forgot to bring the letter, but there was a nice letter written to us about the 6th grade sandwich field trip, that they enjoyed their Washington DC trip, and they thanked us very much, and it was really, really sweet.
Thank you.
And well written. Sorry, I didn't bring them.
The trip went off wonderfully. You know, it was the first time we have been able to pull off the itinerary the way we'd like to since before the pandemic. So there were a few challenges as things like that we'd always expect to be there were not necessarily there, but they were few and far between. We did wait for the B30 bus at the airport for about an hour and a half before we were finally told that that bus line no longer exists.
Oh,
no. But other than that, the kids, they planned out great museum blocks. The weather was wonderful. The hostel that we always like to stay at was recently renovated during the pandemic, and that was great. You know, it was great to be back there right on Capitol Hill. When we were taking our tour of the Capitol building, Congress was in session, or the House was in session, and Speaker McCarthy walked right by us as he was going to vote on the Parental Rights in Schools Act.
Oh, my
So,
goodness.
coming
How ironic.
full circle, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great trip. The kids did wonderful. The parent chaperones were very supportive, and the letters are really like, you know, a follow-up when we come back. It's a great opportunity for formal letter writing, and that, you know, just thanking you guys have always been very supportive of the trip, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have another
Yes.
Winnie Dipper.
Yes, please.
So we have another Winnie Dipper we want to celebrate this evening. We have Brandon Kimball here tonight. Correct? Come on up, and we'll have Mrs. Merrill with you. So Brandon participated in the Winnie Dippers. Thank you, Brandon. Well done. Was it a good experience?
Yeah.
Excellent. Did you go in the water?
No.
That's why it was great.
You just helped raise money?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Well,
great.
that's a good way to delegate. Good for you. Well, thank you for being part of it and for all you do for Special Olympics. It's appreciated. And you are certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you don't feel like
Don't
you
have
have
to.
to. Congratulations. Well done. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it, for supporting the Special Olympics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No worries.
All right.
So we have the superintendent, assistant superintendent reports. The enrollment report is attachment 8 in your packet.
So we are staying somewhat stable. Nothing significant.
Yep. And then we have financial updates.
So we continue to maintain a good position. Ms. Temporino is working on creating an update for the board at the next meeting relative to our current position.
Getting to that point where you've got to decide where we.
Yes, and if you recall, it was supported by the voters, $250,000 if there is unreserved fund balance for facilities.
Facilities, yeah.
So that would have to certainly be done first.
Yep.
Before any other decisions are made relative to fund balance.
Okay, so under new business, I think we were going to acknowledge DI.
I think that would be great. That's on one of your addendums.
I know, I was looking for that.
So we
Okay.
have Mrs. Buskett here this evening. So on one of your mini white pages, there
I didn't
is
even find it.
fundraising. We just wanted to give you an update. And Mrs. Buskett is, let's see if I can do it, Destination Imagination Team Blue
Blob?
Blob, what was it?
Blobfish.
Blobfish asparagus.
Blobfish heroes.
Blobfish Heroes of
Asparagus.
Of
Okay.
asparagus.
Yes.
Um,
Long story, but
So
our first effort at compromise.
And if you recall, we will be bringing forward a proposal on the 21st, and they are out there trying to fundraise. And we just wanted to give you an update tonight where they are in the process.
And before I give you an update, I just want to say thank you from the team and myself for your generous donation for us to pay our entry fee, which we have done so, and now we are working on the fundraising so that we can support the rest of our trip. We are traveling to Kansas City, Missouri in May for the Globals, so there will be teams from around the world there. So it's going to be an amazing experience for these 4th and 5th graders, and we are so excited to be undertaking this. So fundraising is very quick because we are leaving shortly. So already the students have set up a table this past weekend during the Annie Junior performances, and they were there for all the performances, and they raised $634.63. So off to a great start. They have a bake sale planned at Heath's Market next Sunday, April 16th, I believe it is, that all of them have signed up for to work at and also bring products to. So it is truly a team effort and continuing with the whole destination imagination, teamwork, and creative thinking premise. So it's nice to see them working on this end as well. We have online a Little Caesar fundraiser that was presented to us, and the way that it works is we are sending out the message that we are selling these Little Caesar pizza kits, and if families want to purchase them, a portion of that proceeds come back to Enjoy School District. We have a potential fundraiser at the Mug Restaurant. We're just trying to work out the details of that, but we would encourage families to go on a certain date, and then a portion of those proceeds would come back to Enjoy School District. We are attending the PTO meeting next week to share our journey and adventure and see if there's anything they can do to support our trip as well. Within our Interlakes community, we have been promised that we can do a Jeans Fund on a Friday that will be donated towards the trip. And then the little birdie told me that student leadership will also be supporting our trip with a donation. So that was very nice as well. And then within the Meredith or Interlakes community, we are also sending letters to some organizations in the hopes that they can support our trip. We've already received one donation from Meredith Village Savings Bank of $2,500.
Wow.
So we're super excited about the start. We have a lot of plans in motion, and hopefully we'll have a great update on April 21st.
Great.
How much more do you have, how much do you have to raise
So
total?
the airfare, hotel, and the entry fee were almost
I
$19,000.
read that, but so the
Yes.
entry fee's covered, what's the difference?
The
I wasn't
entry
here
fee-
last week for the meeting,
Oh,
so,
okay, so that was $5,500, so
okay, that's the difference. Good
So-
luck.
And
That's a
we're
lot.
on our way.
And they will come back to the board on the 21st with
Right,
hopefully a
A
less amount
Right?
you need to request.
Yes, a lesser amount.
I would suggest you temporarily rename yourselves Destination Missouri.
That is a very good idea.
I guess we're talking about the Laker, the robotics thing
Yes,
again,
so- I can provide that update this
Thank
evening. So the board had approved $15,000 in support of their hopeful at that time opportunity to go to Houston, and now it is confirmed. The trip is about $28,000. So between fundraising and also parent contributions and some folks who are also helping to contribute for other students, that remaining $13,000 will be made up to get them to Houston.
Wow,
And
great.
so we have the send off on the 14th, and hopefully we'll be able to watch some of this as it unfolds next week. Once I have a link, I'll share it with you because it's a lot of fun to be able to be a spectator from afar. But I think they can feel those vibrations. But they have been actively working. They do have a GoFundMe page, working on donations. This is certainly, they've been very active. It's a quick turnaround.
Right.
And I think they're all excited to be able, there will be 11 students going and 4 mentors, which does include the teacher, Mr. Derrick.
What was the award he got?
So he was nominated for the award. I don't know I'm not sure if that has been presented yet. If that
Okay,
has
I
been
think I just heard
selected, I will have
mention
to, had not heard any final, so it may have been a nomination.
Okay.
I will, if I can get more details on that, I will share that.
And how many are going for the Destination Imagination Cruise?
I'm sorry?
How many are going with the Destination?
So Destination Imagination, your team is 5 students?
Students, there's 7 students.
Seven
students.
And many of their parents want to go as well, right, as chaperones?
Their parents have been amazingly supportive, and
Yeah.
everyone has a chaperone.
Wow.
They are all traveling.
And parents will be supporting their travel.
Their own
Yes.
travel, yeah.
Yes, they're very excited. A lot of the parents I'm finding have done this in the past.
Oh.
Destination Imagination or Odysseys of the Mind, I think it was years ago. So a lot of them have participated in this.
You mean
and-
as students?
as students,
Oh.
and really value this experience for their children. And their children are not participating in other activities like sports or something that might have those opportunities. So they're really excited to have this opportunity for them in a more creative kind of problem solving area rather than some of the other areas that we frequently see celebrated. So they're very excited.
And we can get the information on Little Caesar kits and send that out to you, as well as when we learn more about the potential opportunity at the mug, we'll get that out in case you have an interest. And you certainly have an interest possibly in Laker Bots garments that has
It's called merch.
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 The merch, that is a lovely hooded sweatshirt on sale for $35.
I would have thought you would have bought in our sizes.
If someone wants to write the check, we'll be happy to do it.
I'll dress the board.
That would be lovely. And you can all eat pizza for
Extra large. Mark.
Yeah.
for a month.
So we also, this is just information for us about field trips.
Yes, so
Overnight
just so
field
you know
trips.
that it's an overnight field trip. The policy says I would inform you of a new overnight field trip. So I'm considering this evening that I have informed you of that. The policy does not say we need your approval.
No.
And feel very confident. We've got good chaperones. We've got, the kids are, I think really have learned how to travel. Certainly a plane will be different, but I have no concerns.
And then-
One-on-one chaperones.
We're gonna be, it'll be 4 adults to 11 students. I think we,
Oh,
Yeah,
that's like the
yeah.
Laker Bots we're talking about now.
So we also have speak up for safety.
sure,
information.
so, just as you have a handout. And other aspects of this handout are not public yet, just because we haven't opened the line, as well as it does have some other numbers in here that are the emergency contact numbers. So please don't distribute it. If you'd like me to shred it at the end, I'd be happy to do that. I just wanted you to see that this is it's a recommendation in the safety recommendations that the state came out with their task force, and one we've been working towards. This is through an organization called Gaggle. We do not have, there are other products Gaggle has. We do not have those products. This is just a tip line, and it's the cost is $1 a student. And this allows us to have somebody who can take information that can come in, look at that information, determine if that's like an immediate thing we need to be notified on, or if it's something that, is certainly something we need to look at, but not of an immediate nature. And so we will be rolling this out to families and students in May. Our target date is like around May 15th. For elementary families, for elementary students, we'll be working with parents, letting parents know. For 7 through 12, we will be doing education with students about what this is, what it isn't, and certainly the responsibility that comes with using it. Our hope is always that if somebody has a safety concern and they're able to make direct contact with a building principal or dean or assistant or guidance counselor, that's what we would, we desire. We like, that contact, but sometimes there's those off hours. So this is, if something comes in at midnight, it will go out simultaneously, texts, to a group of us, and they will wait for a response. And then certainly if they don't get a response, then we'll go to another level. And it just allows us to have a place for people to give information and a place, for a group of people who are monitoring 24/7 to determine if something's of an immediate nature. So I just wanted you to be aware, it's part of our safety process. And we'll be rolling that out in the middle of May, and I didn't want you to be surprised. If I speak up, we'll be getting that advertised.
Okay, donations. That's attachments 14 through 18 in your packet. We're gonna do these first and then get back to the
And
business.
they're all
But,
summarized.
yeah, so we have the donation of a park bench to Sandwich Central School from the Sandwich Recycling Project. That, there's a letter in your packet about that. Donation in the amount of $500 from Hearts and Hands to be used by Heart and Hand Soul, the Girls on the Run, for the purchase of running shoes for girls grades 3 through 8. Donation in the amount of $2,000 from Thrive Grant to be used to purchase Hannaford grocery cards for families in need. Donation in the amount of $200 from Mr. Ted Barasa for the Interlakes Elementary School Occupational Therapy Program. And then to be applied to the student activities after prom party club. We have $250 from the Xavier Group LLC, $250 from Meredith Landing Real Estate LLC, $250 from Heather Phelps, $500 from Paugus Bay Marina LLC, and $2,000 from Meredith Village Savings Bank. So motion to accept the donations with gratitude.
So moved.
Mark?
Second.
Sure. Nancy, who won?
Nancy did, she's
Okay,
been.
Nancy. Okay, all
Sitting
those
next to Mark.
in favor with a nice thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so those are done. Okay, getting back to. Okay, we're gonna talk about the ILMHS main campus road sign.
So we have been working on the road sign. This has been something that the board did encumber some money at the end of, I don't think it was last year, it was the previous year, about $40,000. The sign is coming at closer to 100,000, but I believe it is going to be it's going to be a big uplift, I think, for our front door yard. It will be a digital sign. School districts fall into a certain emergency kind of preparedness, so it gives you like a variance on regulations around
Yeah, we don't like.
town. It's a very subtle digital that I think will allow us to be able to communicate in a much more effective, more efficient manner. It does have some nice, the exterior parts of the sign that Mr. Smarker has a nice picture, which is worth 1,000 words, so why don't you distribute the picture? But we did want to make you aware that it is coming in more expensive. It definitely needs doing. It is a well-used sign, and it is a major communication vehicle for us. So I think you'll be impressed, I hope, and it's pretty exciting.
I only asked if we changed the name.
Well, I think that gets pretty complicated.
Yeah. Like portable.
I campaigned to change the name. Middle High just.
We want to preserve our middle school integrity and our high school, but I
That can be
understand.
I did want to speak to it just a little bit to kind of explain why too. There's been such a lag in progress on this, but it started as a maybe within our budget sign replacement, but we really felt that it's a landmark piece that, we wanted to really showpiece the next 40 to 50 years with. I believe this sign is about 42 years old now. I'm not exactly sure of the age. It was originally built by the King Brothers Masons from the town of Meredith, in which we currently have students from that family in our elementary school now. Caleb King is the legacy owner of King Stoneworks now, and with talking to them and just seeing the condition of the brick, just washing it wasn't really gonna bring it to the life we're looking for. So working with Caleb King, we came up with wrapping it in some field stone that kind of, represents the region that we're in. And cost started to kind of grow from there. But we really wanted this to be a showpiece and have the modernization of digital signage to change our message quickly but be clear. But I still wanted to preserve the traditional, sign of a campus. So what you see on top is, that rounded OG top of a traditional sign. The coloring on the photocopier isn't exact, so that'll look a little better. And also disclaimer, I did this artwork with parquet, but I did the stone part in the old-fashioned clip art way, so like cutting out.
And we'll
stones
have
putting
something in
them
the
under,
new.
So
Very good job,
Sorry if
Brian.
it looks a little odd, you gotta look at it at a distance a little more, but I couldn't get someone to digitally help me do both things, so I took it upon myself. But the traditional sign would be, a brushed cut aluminum, and all the letters and even the center circle and everything is backlit with the LED. So if you just peek to the bottom right corner, you see where the lettering company had a little bit of a mock-up there where it's a halo lit brushed aluminum. So it's good solid materials that'll last up at the road with road traffic, salt, debris, weather, things like that.
Brian, is it just that bottom third or bottom quarter that is the electronic
So the
sign?
digital is just that bottom black with the wording on it there. That part would be digital, and it's 3 foot, 8 foot digital sign.
Wow.
And it'll have a lot of capabilities, but also to try to honor. That's another reason it took a little more time, because I wanted to get permission, get a permit from the town to do this, and we did obtain that with this mock-up. So we have permit, and we wanted to make that subtle so that we're still, again, modern, but preserving a true landmark sign. So.
And we have the additional funds within the current budget, so we're, able to make up the difference. But we felt it was important to make sure that if we were doing this, we were doing it well.
So the majority of the work is paquette signs and King stonework?
Yeah, so there's
And those are both
there's
local
like
places?
3 parts to it. Caleb King will come in, we would wrap it in the field stone. Paquette will build the top sign, and then the digital part paired with Paquette will be a watchfire sign, which is a similar sign that around here. The one at Meredith Village is a watchfire. It's something that Paquette recommends. So, but they kind of handle that themselves.
Great.
So again, this is kind of what Paquette and I came up with, and if everyone thinks it's represents us well, then we'd like to move forward with it.
Behind the fence or rail, I should call it.
The rail goes right into the front corner, but we'll kind of refinish those ends to terminate them a little differently than they are right now.
And I think you have plans to paint the fence.
Yeah, I'd
that
like to
rail.
go the guardrail now that's weathered a year. I'd like to put a dark black stain on that. I think that would look like an elegant and preserve it a little longer.
Ms. Merrill, are you
Yes.
looking for a motion to approve this?
I don't think, this is informational. it
We
says.
weren't proposing, the board had already approved it. I wanted you to be aware that
I
the
mean,
cost.
the design.
I think, certainly if you want to do that, I mean, sometimes, it's helpful. So if somebody says they didn't like
Blame the
the
board.
sign, we have a little bit more, support.
Brian wants a motion.
You wanna do a motion?
I'll do a motion to
I'll
approve this.
second
Okay. All those in favor, unless there's any discussion, is there any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Should look great.
I'm not in favor.
Cost or the design?
The cost.
Yeah, it's the cost.
Yeah, it is the cost that gives you part.
And that-
Voting on the
it is a
design,
lot.
though,
Yeah.
Approving the designs.
Did we get other pricing on this? Because it does seem high.
So Brian has been,
Yeah,
trying to
Brian,
work on this. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the reality, the cost of the goods, the labor, you're not, I mean, we could certainly go with a cheaper sign, but I think it's going to look cheap and it's going to probably not weather well up on the road, by the road. It's
Or it just
It's a
gets
heavy-
all of the salt and
Yeah, it's,
brine.
we were, felt like, again, that is a major, to and fro on 25 that everybody passes by, and trying to have something that has a degree of quality.
Each component, again, is that kind of that roughly $30,000, and that's why the original budget would fit. But with a 40-some-year-old brick structure, at some point, we're gonna put the same amount of money probably into the sign. So the real bonus cost is the digital message board, but that alone too, because we have just employees that go up all year long and have to try to change the letters, and the letters wear out. And it's our best messaging system, so I think that maybe the additional cost is really just converting to that, but the modern way to go, there's numerous school districts in New Hampshire that have gone this route, and many of them are rural like we are too, so it's not out of the question to invest in something like this.
Moving on.
Okay, personalized pathways for professional learning.
So we have Mrs. Papalardo here this evening to share with you some of our professional learning that has been personalized for our educators.
Thank you. So I'm really excited to be here this evening. Thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to share the work that we've been doing here in the Interlake School District to really revolutionize professional learning for our educators in the school district. It's important to note that this work would not have been possible without our partnership in higher education, Antioch University of New England. What I'm going to do this evening is provide an overview of what personalized pathways are. And then we have the pleasure of hearing from two of our educators who are currently engaged in this work. So we'll be able to hear about how that's impacted them in their journey. I have the worst track record with these words at board meetings, Mr. Parsons. Oh, there we go. Thank you. And so really the spark for this work was this educational hypothesis that really was kind of driving all of this innovative revolutionary design work. And so what's interesting about the hypothesis is that it's really based also in one of the core tenets of competency-based education. And so that idea really being that time is a variable and proficiency is the constant. And so that hypothesis became, how can we remove the artificial barrier between clock hours, which is what we use to track professional development activities, and graduate credits? And so we know that teachers want meaningful professional development, and they want that along with the opportunity to advance their careers and increase their pay. And so the current model is that educators are required to engage in professional development opportunities throughout the school year. And currently, the currency for those clock hours is after 3 years, they'll go through their recertification renewal, and they'll be able to use those hours for that. And that's really kind of the end of what those hours are kind of equated for in terms of currency. And so the question became, what if we moved beyond that model toward something that also had some badging and graduate credits embedded in the experience? So what we'll do is we'll imagine that a professional learning experience is a block. I think this will help kind of walk through the understanding of this. So each experience that we have in our professional development is a block. And then over time, educators are able to kind of stack the blocks onto one another. They can move vertically, they can move horizontally, and they can make these different complex configurations as they go with their learning, all the while personalizing their experience and providing an opportunity for them to deepen their knowledge or widen the breadth of the things that they're studying. And the blueprint that is kind of hidden behind all of that work are graduate level courses that have already been approved by Antioch University of New England. And so as educators essentially stack up more blocks, they're getting closer and closer to graduate credits. And the blueprint under that blueprint is a personalized learning progression that we use here at the Interlake School District. And essentially that tool enables us to really be intentional about the shifts that we make in instructional design between being teacher-centered and learner-centered. And so what we're looking at here is essentially like a course. So this is the blended and personalized learning course. So each of these are the name of a module, and then each module is comprised of 4 separate sessions. And so each particular session will translate in terms of currency for 2 clock hours for professional development, which again, that can be used for recertification renewal. And then each row, which reflects an entire module in the course, translates to a badge. And as educators continue in their journey, once they've reached 3 badges, so 3 modules have been completed, they're able to express intent if they desire to essentially swap all of that in for graduate credit. And at that point, they're able to complete the coursework, all of the modules, and the culminating assessments to demonstrate their proficiency.
So, may I interrupt?
Of course.
Next question. So, once they complete these blocks all in a row, and they want to say, I intend to trade it in for graduate credit, they have to do more work, or just the work they've already done is good enough for the graduate credit? I didn't understand that last comment.
Thank you.
Said that
Great
they
question.
can do other things, right? So what's,
Great question. So if we imagine that a teacher has completed the first 3 rows of this, after they've done 3 in total, it doesn't have to be in any particular order, but after 3 are complete, that's when they express their intent. So they still have a remaining 4th module, and that's the module that they complete. So the additional work that's expected of them once they express that intent is that 4th module.
okay. And each module then, I guess these 4 rows become a credit, and that credit is towards a class that is certified then by NAI?
Great question. So each module or row equates a badge.
Okay.
And after accumulating 4 badges, the educators are essentially exchanging them for 3 graduate credits,
Which is a class
which is one class.
that's already on the roster somewhere.
Correct.
Antioch has validated that course, and it's their stamp.
Okay. I'm trying to get the relation of, okay, how do we make sure we're planning on an item that we need the teacher to have, right? And not
Yes.
them hodgepodging 4 different things
Yes.
together that really don't equal a class, but then they're gonna get a credit for class.
No, they all,
They only get 3 credits.
If all 4 modules are successfully completed. Excuse me.
and the modules are built from a curriculum
Correct.
that Antioch University has established as a course curriculum, right?
Correct.
So, gotcha.
So there's a lengthy process that goes on behind the scenes that the teacher of record has to complete an extremely detailed syllabus and submit that to Antioch University. And then they provide approval. Sometimes they push it back and ask for more clarity on certain things, but it has to meet their standards in order to bear the graduate credits.
Okay. How do we then, as a school system, say, I want that teacher to have those credits in that particular field of study? I mean, as we go through things and we look at our talent, right? We want our talent to transform with us. But how do we make sure they're transforming it the right way with us and not just picking something out of the blue that NAIC offers that we may not think is important?
That's a great
regulate?
question. So one of the processes that we use in the school district is a goal setting process. And our educators use the competency-based instruction progression to set one of their goals each year.
Okay.
And so that's one of the ways that we calibrate with that. And as part of the certification renewal process, when educators design their professional learning experience for their 3-year cycle, those experience must align with the goals that they set as part of that cycle.
And the goal setting that is done by the principals or?
It's done by the educators themselves,
But the
and then-
principals have a say in what
and
they're
there's a
setting?
supervisor, so there's a
Okay.
conversation back and forth.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate the information.
I guess you're showing us one graduate course
Mhm.
in this Antioch program. How deep is that body of courses? Are there many other ones? Or is this the professional development of educators that how many courses are there?
Great question. So we've designed 3 courses to date. Thank you. So one of the other exciting things about this experience is that all of these courses live in our learning management system, Schoology. This is the same learning environment that our educators are using for the extension of their brick and mortar classrooms with all of our learners in the school district. So we're using the same platform to have educators be able to access those courses. Currently, there are 3 that are activated, and we have behind the scenes kind of fueling this. The teacher of record is one of the consultants that works with the school district, and she provides feedback to our educators, and she's the one who is the teacher of record who reviews culminating tasks at the end of modules and courses and communicates progress through Antioch University.
I have a question. Are these modules timed? Like, is there like a timing that's involved to know when each module has been completed? How does that work?
Great question. So one of the things that is really revolutionary about this is that we're not living within the confines of a traditional university semester. We have the opportunity for our educators to kind of opt in and opt out of content whenever it meets their schedule or whenever it coincides with some school district time. So for example, right now, we currently have at our middle high school, we're using the collaborative planning blocks as an opportunity to do what I'm calling I don't know if hard launch is a term, but soft is, so I'm using it. Hard launch at the middle high school, where we're providing the space and time for educators to essentially choose whichever course is the most of interest, and they're invited to do that work collaboratively within their peer groups. And they're having the opportunity to kind of move forward for a certain number of those sessions. And so that's really exciting right now. And of the educators in the middle high school who are actively doing that, 19 of them have expressed an interest in completing that experience all the way through to graduate credit. Currently, we also have 5 educators who are kind of out there on their own timeline, doing their own professional learning. This was officially launched in Competency Camp last summer as one of our opportunities for educators to start some professional development. And we're really excited about the hard launch going on at the middle high school and have received a lot of positive feedback from those staff members and are really excited that we have 19 who are considering to move forward. I think it's also important to note, before we did all of this unbanding of time and kind of moving everything in Schoology to have it be more accessible, these 3 courses that we're currently running were offered in a traditional model, in a traditional course model. So during that time, before they became kind of revolutionized, we had 20 educators complete a total of 60 credit hours through the traditional experience.
Another question, the LMS system or Schoology, every educator has their own account and it tracks that, what that educator is doing.
Yes.
So log in,
Yeah.
they can log in,
Yes.
see how
And
long
this-
you've taken.
This is now system-wide, right? All 3 schools with all the
Yes,
educators?
Schoology is system-wide.
And how long has it been in place?
So we launched that, so March 2020 was going to be our launch. They were not quite able to gear up, so it was that summer, July 2020.
Okay. And how many educators do we have in the system?
117 teaching staff that fall into that category.
So these are all, these courses are all designed around competency-based learning and increasing teachers' competence in competency-based teaching. correct?
Two of
The
them
three.
primarily, the
Uh-huh.
third one is social and emotional learning.
Okay. You know, we had a lot of conversation about literacy this year. Are there modules having to do with literacy, or will there be, or, you know, so what are there are different goals that the school system has set in terms of teacher competency, right, professional
course.
development, and I'm just wondering if literacy fits into that.
Of course, great question. So while it's not part of this experience, for 2 summers in a row, we did launch and then facilitate a course year-long aligned to our literacy work, and it was very job-embedded experience. So each module was designed to provide our educators an opportunity to use what they were learning with integrating new practices as essentially their course experience upon which they reflected, set goals, and then did things differently with specific learners and had an entire reflection loop and engaged in other course experiences with a course facilitator, and were also able to earn graduate credit as an option. And we did have a lot of participation in both of those courses.
And that was through Antioch as well.
Yes.
Oh, good, okay, thank you.
Yes.
So this is, I think it's important to note the amount of work that has gone into being able to kind of deconstruct a course into these modules. Mrs. Papalardo has been doing a lot of behind the scenes work with Antioch to get them to also be able to shift their mindset too about how these blocks will stack and how then they will, receive payment should it get to the point that it is graduate credit, all of those pieces. There's been programmers behind the scenes to make their software work. It has been truly, revolutionizing, I think, how they are operating. I think it's probably a model that they'll expand elsewhere. So the future courses, certainly, I think, we want to see take on this model, but to get the 3 up and running has been a significant undertaking, and one that I think, again, has broken some barriers down that will allow the next phase, certainly to go, I think, a lot faster. But it is, our goal is to be able to make it into small enough bites for people that maybe over time add up into graduate credit, which has value in the sense it leads towards potentially a master's, or it leads towards somebody who might have a master's, but now they're a master's plus 15. That allows us to offer courses that support the work that we are looking to engage in the district, but also then reflect on somebody's track on where they are with the salary schedule.
And I think this is brilliant because we hear from teachers, but to give this kind of flexibility is fabulous. So congratulations. It is clearly a lot of hard work.
And talking to the programmer was, those were a lot of emails. I'm like, Erica, get into those weeds.
I like those weeds. You've received a lot of questions, so I'm sorry, I have one more.
Of course.
What, if I were to engage in this, what would that module look like? Is it a narrated course that you can kind of come in and out, pause and keep going, and then there's competence at the end of that? Are they like pre-recorded seminars that they're watching? Is it a mixture of many different things? What does the course module actually look like to interact with?
That's a great question. They're all a little bit similar in that the opening is a lot of framing for here's the experience, here's what you're getting into, here's how you navigate through the design of all of the content. And then there's a very clear script that guides the educators through. I don't know if I didn't add a screenshot of what one of those looks like, unfortunately. But the course orientation, it's very clear the direction through which the educators have to navigate or can navigate. And there's a lot of different kind of content that's integrated. Sometimes there's video content. Sometimes it's having to download a 20-page report or white paper. Sometimes the courses are more collaborative in nature, so the social and emotional learning course actually kind of really need to have at least one or two other colleagues enrolled in that with you in order to really engage in a lot of the culminating tasks because it requires collaboration. So they're all a little bit unique, but they all begin with an opening that frames what the experience is and what to expect. There's also a Google form embedded in each of the modules where if the educators are stuck or if they encounter a broken link or they're unclear and they have a question, they just complete a Google form and the teacher of record is able to respond to them individually.
Thank you.
Of course. Yes, sir.
May I make a couple statements and then maybe a question or two again? Sorry. I think this is brilliant, and I really appreciate the work that you guys have done to bring this to this district and the educators that we have, because this is a tool that's should be used by everybody. And I hope we track and are able to track how many people are using this, and that's where the question comes. When you started this, we talked about the credits they needed to get, their accreditation every 3 years. Are there going to be other avenues that the teachers can still use? Or will we be saying that, no, we want you to use this so we can all keep track in the same spot?
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's a great question. There's no intent to, this is an opportunity. And I will say that when the teachers set their goals, that's our opportunity to have conversations as supervisors to have an awareness of, based off of our relationships with those educators. If there are some goals that we want to have a discussion point about, we're certainly integrate that into our conversations with our educators and have that opportunity. One of the things that I'm looking forward to is continuing to think of, while we've had a hard launch at the middle high school, we really haven't had one yet at either of the elementary schools. So I'm interested in thinking more about how I can take that as a next step in this work. I think the other area, and speaking about building capacity, is that the other vision here is really that currently, while there is a teacher of record who is an external facilitator, my hope and dream in this work is that we continue to build capacity and we know which educators have completed which of the graduate courses, and then that they then will feel like they want to be in more of a teacher leadership role, work with their peers to become the facilitators of course experiences. So it'll provide us an opportunity to grow some internal capacity as well. And I think when educators see their peers in those experiences, there's sometimes a more open environment for them to be a little bit more vulnerable with one another in an adult learning center.
So this might be helpful to know. So we are required to have a master professional development plan that is approved by the Department of Education. And that is driven by education rules, which does, the best practices would have a variety of different ways for people to earn their clock hours towards their certification. So that plan, what happens is the educator completes their 3-year cycle. Erica oversees the Master PD Committee, which it has teacher representatives, paraeducators who are representatives that work in the building to help support people. I get the clearance that they have met all of their obligations, and then I am responsible for signing off on their certifications with the Department of Ed. I think the Department of Education would not look kindly on a narrow process for people to earn those requirements towards certification.
Understood. I didn't know how big the bandwidth was.
Yeah.
So even though we're not able to require them, I think it's important to note that we have had 20 already complete the ones that we've built in a traditional model. And again, all of the middle high school is currently engaged, and of them, 19 have an interest, and we have currently 5 just exploring the pathways as independent educators. So I think that's a lot to celebrate without making things required. We have a lot of educators who are coming to the table with a great interest.
So you'd look at that as 58 educators total at the middle high school?
For sure.
They're all-
And
okay.
they're still engaged in their hard launch, so we'll see how things continue. We're still continuing that work for at least 2 more collaborative planning blocks.
And Antioch was selected, might have been 6 years ago, by a group of faculty who met with a few graduate institutions and determined that Antioch was the direction they felt like would be the best fit for our school district.
They've been extremely receptive to the idea of us working collaboratively to essentially build credit-bearing experiences around the work that the district is engaged in. So it's been really rewarding for our educators who've participated. So without further ado, we'll stop looking at the nerdy details behind the design, which is one of my favorite parts, but really the other favorite part is when we have the opportunity to hear from our educators who are engaged in this work. So we're gonna first hear from Mary Bodwin, who's made a screencast video of her experience. So we'll get a sneak peek into what it's like on the teacher's experience.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can see, she's a grade 3 teacher.
Well, we have another Winnie.
Well, we do, yes. Sorry, he just went into the restroom. I did look up and.
Okay.
We'll pause after.
I'm sorry.
I was muted originally. Are we ready?
I think so, yes.
So this is a great pause right here because this actually does show, I forgot we were gonna see that from Mary Baudouin. This is actually the interface of the course in Schoology, so the orientation and welcome is right there, and then you can see the organization by module. So big thank you to Mary Baudouin,
Yeah.
and I think we're gonna pause
Yes.
for a moment.
Pause, we have another Winnie Dipper.
Yes.
And Hayden, where are you coming from right now?
Meredith.
From Meredith, and were you just in athletics somewhere, or?
We thought the meeting started at 7.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, come on and let's recognize Hayden. So Hayden is a Winnie Dipper, and Hayden, did you go in the water?
I did.
Excellent. Well, come on and let's recognize you. Thank you. What can you share about the experience?
It's cold.
Very good.
But it was fun.
Excellent. Well, thank you for supporting Special Olympics and supporting the students at Middle High School. We appreciate it. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We know it's a lot.
See the sigh of relief you got from that?
Yeah, I did.
All right. So we do have one other teacher who's here live in person this evening to share her experiences. So big thank you to Patricia Parsons, 5th grade teacher in our Lakes Elementary School, who is going to speak a little bit about her experience.
So I'm one of the 5 that have gone rogue on my own. I am taking the SEL class this year. And to kind of piggyback on what Erica said, I also took the 2 more traditional classes in literacy that were offered within the last 2 years. And this SEL class, I can attest, is just as rigorous as the reading kind of traditional literacy classes that I took. What I love about it is that it is it's very flexible. So at the elementary school, we are not doing it in our competency classes and in our CPBs. So I've been doing it before school and after school, and my partner in crime, we kind of set our own times, and there's a lot of FaceTime calls at home, and it's been great because we have that flexibility. So we can work on it on a Saturday or on a Sunday or on a snow day, or at 7:30 in the morning on Thursday if you'd like to join us. And it's been fantastic. And as far as the badges go and trading it in, at no point in my head did I go, oh, I'm going to just take pieces of this. And I had known from the very beginning that I planned on taking it as a full class. However, the flexibility and the ability I started it in August, and I've taken 4 other graduate classes this year as well.
Wow.
So having that flexibility with this class has been phenomenal. And our teacher reaches out to us as often as we need. We just kind of give her the nod that we need some assistance or that we're looking for some feedback, and she jumps right in, which is fantastic. But she's also not kind of in the traditional role of you have these deadlines that you have to meet by. So our goal, my colleague and I are hoping to finish by the end of June and to be completed, have another class completed. But it's been fantastic. And as far as this specific class, the SEL class has been phenomenal. A lot of things have come very organically out of it. And SEL is always going to be a huge part of education and our students. And we have a lunch bunch going, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. And there are friendships being made between the students that are unexpected and really beautiful in their own right. And I feel like a lot of it was because of the leadership we had to get us there in this first place. It's great.
Mrs. Parsons' classroom is just warm and welcoming and inclusive of everyone. And you really do, you apply, you're a model of social emotional learning and creating an environment. And it's really, I'm sure you're contributing a great deal to your colleagues and to others participating. Thank you.
And it truly does sound like you're smarter than a fifth grader.
Well, thank you. There is my question.
And I think that's another outcome of this work, right? So we can see the collaboration going on within a grade level team. And Mary Goldwyn also has experienced the same thing with her third grade team, the task that she created to support our learners for the statewide test that's coming up. The whole third grade team is really benefiting from the work products that she's created for her coursework. And the fact that they're job embedded and the educators are really encouraged to just apply what they're learning to their actual tasks that are coming up on their calendars makes it kind of a win-win for everybody. And then the outcome of all that collaboration has just been incredibly powerful as well. So thank you for your time, and if there are other questions.
That's great. Thanks
Thank
for your
you so
effort.
much, that was very informative, thank you.
And it's so nice, Mrs. Buskett, that you stayed to
I know.
support Mrs. Parsons.
Of course.
You are both welcome to continue staying, but you don't have to feel like you have to either. Nobody would be offended. You have early learners. So, thank you. Thank you.
Before we move on, is there any other public input, Mark? Did you get any?
There was not earlier. I will double check and
I just wanna-
verify. Refresh.
It's been a while.
Mary, is it a safe assumption that this takes what we did 3 or 4 years ago by adding tracks to get them higher sooner? That adding this in with its flexibility and
This is I think the two work well together, right? There's a financial incentive, right? And then having in-district courses that are designed around personalized and competency-based learning that are easily accessible to people. I think those go hand in hand.
That's great. I'm gonna close the public input at 7:23 PM.
The half an hour of public input.
Yeah, that was like, yeah. Okay, so next on the agenda is the full school day kindergarten schedule at Sandwich Central School. Mrs. Moriarty and Mr. Hilder.
So you have attachment 9 in your packet. Mr. Hilder and I are recommending that the board support a full school day, and that's a distinction from a full day kindergarten because technically we would be considered a full day kindergarten by the state standard, having students leave at noon time. But we are proposing full day of school for kindergarten students so that it will be a full day of school for kindergarten and first grade, and you have a schedule that has been drafted by Mrs. Petiti as well as the paraeducator that she works closely with in her classroom. And we do not see any costs in this coming year. I don't know if there'll be future costs depending on,
any bus changes?
No. So this is, right now we are supporting transportation to the Sandwich Child Care Center. So we wouldn't be doing that. We're supporting that right now. So that would actually be a savings because kids can come in on the bus and go home on the bus.
Yeah, it's natural.
Go ahead.
Maybe I can ask Mr. Hilder, it looks like there will be an option for half day if parents want that option, is that correct?
I think we said at the meeting that we would work with families if they're reluctant to commit to the full day.
There was definitely, again, it's trying to find something that meets everybody's needs. The reality is there are some families that do want to have their children in the afternoon. We see that as that's a commitment. It's not on Mondays I'm doing that, on Tuesdays I'm full day. We're saying it's a commitment that's what you're doing for the school year. If life circumstances should change, we would certainly have that conversation with the family, like maybe something has changed and someone has to go to work that they hadn't planned on. That's something we would entertain, but it is a real commitment. You're either until noon or you're in for the full day.
Duncan had a question.
Just, would you anticipate transitioning from this level of flexibility to full day kindergarten as the only option in coming years?
I haven't really thought about it beyond next year, honestly. Yeah, so.
I think it'll be a learning year.
I mean, I guess the question is that, is bifurcating the class into kids who do stay and don't, is that at all disruptive? I mean,
The way that the schedule is designed right now, the core academics of ELA and mathematics happen in the morning. So if a family does feel that they want their child home for the afternoon, they're essentially agreeing that the kindergarten student is going to miss out on specials each day. They're gonna miss out on that play-based time, the choice time, that, the state encourages, and, is a good practice at that age. And it creates a bit of a dilemma, I think, for the teacher, because that would be the time that they do the assessments, the one-on-one work. So it's a bit of a hurdle. And I think we're gonna have to see, like Ms. Superintendent Moriarty said, I think we're gonna have to see how it goes and how many people take advantage of it.
and I guess a follow-up question would be, organizing the day around the core academics in the morning, is that a function of some portion of the class leaving at noon, or is that a function of the learners at that age requiring the academic stuff earlier in the day?
I think any teacher would probably agree that they're fresher in the morning, right?
Of course.
The longer the day goes, the harder it is. However, this was designed so that if we do have a population that does want to go home at noon, we don't have a group of kindergarten students,
Of course.
getting a different core academic experience than another group of kindergarten students. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I guess my question would be, to what extent is the reorganization of the specials for the entire school kind of being pulled along to accommodate that level of flexibility of having two different cohorts of kids in the kindergarten class? And how easy will it be to accommodate the change in specials for the rest of the school?
It will have a ripple effect, right? We'll have to move that special too. So I'm looking at it either two ways. We're gonna take one of the middle multi-age specials and move it before lunch in place of where K1 currently is.
Mhm.
Or we're gonna try to bump lunch up and buy enough time to get 3 specials in the afternoon. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So I'm looking at it and I won't know until I can sit the teachers down.
Yep.
And hash it all.
Siobhan had a question.
Does this change the multi-age classrooms in any way? Like, is it?
No, we're trying to preserve the multi-age model.
Any other questions?
Just, how many kids are coming into kindergarten next year?
I think I projected 8, Charlie. But you can't hold me to that.
Yeah,
You know,
I got that.
somebody said the other day, I've got 4 first graders coming from Blue Heron. I don't know if that's true or not, right? So every year, I do my best, but it's,
There are a lot of guerrilla tactics.
there's a lot of guerrilla tactics, exactly, yes.
Craig?
Yeah, I guess, this was, my memory could be totally off, but I thought this was born because of an issue with Sandwich with community center and, people wanting the full day because they needed their kids to be somewhere for the full day. And we had approved you guys going out and asking the community what they wanted. I think that's my memory. And I guess I didn't approve that then, and I still don't approve this now, because I don't understand why we need to do this and create a single level at this school for full day and have the students that want to be half day be at a disadvantage. And I don't think, just looking at it, it's thought through enough for me. So I don't agree with this right now. Okay.
Nancy?
Yeah, Duncan's probably gonna say something similar, so.
I mean, I have to say, I started this with a good deal of skepticism, and I'm still a little frustrated with some kindergartners being half day and some not being half day. I think realistically, there are enough people in Sandwich who feel like the difference between ILES's full day kindergarten and Sandwich's half day kindergarten is unfair. And I think that that's a legitimate perspective to have. My children both my son went through the half-day kindergarten and it was very successful, and I have concerns about that. I guess my concerns right now are enough of the members of the community have asked for full-day kindergarten. I feel like we're obligated to do that. My concern is by leaving it open to half-day kindergarten or full-day kindergarten, we're kind of wagging the whole rest of the school to that. And that's my concern. I think we've responded and we should offer full day. We should move to a model where we have full day kindergarten for everybody, because that's what schools are doing now. That's what the other school in our district is doing. And I think this sandwich it's untenable to have it not the same. If this only lasts next year and we move forward, I would be more supportive, but keeping it as half, some group of kindergartners being half day and some not, that strikes me as untenable in the long term. But, you're the one who has to manage it.
So I do have a question. So it seems like, for me, is this gonna come up at the beginning of each school year? Are we gonna have part-time or full-time, or is it always gonna be full-time?
So what we're,
So that's-
again, I think we're proposing that we're going forward with a model that right now offers some choice within the whole district for a half-day program and a full school day.
And ILES as well.
Well,
No,
because they could choose Sandwich Central School
For
as
the
the half-day
Gotcha,
option.
gotcha.
I think we're, having some choice is not a bad thing for families within reason. And having this at a natural breaking point, I think, is something that, we will probably have to change the special schedule. We know that, but that is not an untenable thing to do. It's not as though we need to add specialists. We just need to switch maybe what's been the normal schedule people have had. So, schools change schedules a lot. I don't see that as a difficult undertaking. I do think having a little bit of choice for families gives us, I think, as a public school, a little more attractiveness versus potentially, losing families to charter or private schools. The other thing I would say, sitting with families, I think when the decision was made, 10 plus years ago, I will tell you, when I arrived in the district, I was like, wow, why don't we have full day kindergarten in Sandwich? And it was very clear, don't go there, that is what the community wants. I think what is very clear to me after sitting with families, I think the demographics has changed. I think it makes it difficult for families to move within the Sandwich community if they don't have a full day school option. Now, we always want to think about school as really being about, it's education, but for many families, it's childcare as well. And so that piece, I think, is definitely resonating with the current young families in Sandwich.
Charlie, then Nancy.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion, but I'm not a fan of giving a choice. I think we should just go full day and the story,
Well, some kids-
because it's consistent with.
Some kids have a difficult time with full time. It's a hard transition, I will say, from, having 3 kids. Some do great full-time kindergarten, some do not.
Can I just really quickly, an ongoing thing that comes up in these kinds of discussions pretty regularly that I think might not be something the rest of the board is familiar with. Sandwich has a number of families coming from Meredith and Center Harbor, and I think it would be helpful if we know how many families, because if you're talking about it as an option for families from all towns of our district exploring this, that's something that already occurs in Sandwich, and I think it would be useful. Do you have a ballpark of how many families from other towns?
I can't do that off the top of my head.
No.
I'm
Yeah.
saying how many just send their kids to
Are you saying
Sandwich?
just in
We do,
kindergarten?
we
No, not at all.
have
Saying
families that have, it's, in essence, we have open enrollment.
Right.
That
And I think that
families
that's a
could
strength
elect.
of this school
Yeah.
and this school district, that we as a board may not be aware of how many
Correct.
people avail themselves of that.
And we definitely have families that do avail themselves
A lot. I mean,
of
like
going to
10,
Sandwich there.
20%.
They desire a smaller community-based school. I can't do that off the top of my head. I'm happy
I
to
think
pull
that would
that.
be useful
Yep.
moving forward to think about the fact that there are a number of families that come in from the other two towns to Sandwich. And that, as you're describing, that could be part of this conversation as well with this specific part of the.
I would like to say one thing though, from the Meredith, people, from the residents of Meredith, I think it would be hard for a parent to, if they needed a half-day kindergarten, to drive to Sandwich. Because when we said, well, if you want full day,
Sure.
you can come to Meredith. So I think that you can hear both sides of that. It would be difficult from a parent from Meredith to drive their kindergartner to Sandwich just for the half-day. I just wanna throw that out there, just because we had that same discussion going the other way.
No, I was gonna say that I did go to the meeting and Mr. Hilger and Superintendent Moriarty were both there as well. So, but definitely this is an issue for working parents, right? But there was discussion about the educational value too. So it wasn't just that they needed childcare. They really did feel like they would benefit more from a full day experience. I personally didn't hear you, Jeremy, saying we'll try to accommodate the half day, full day. What I heard you saying was, that could be difficult depending on how many things we need to change. So you didn't say one way or another, but there was one parent at that meeting whose son I talked with her afterwards, was actually a little bit young, birthday in the fall or something. So she was also thinking about maybe waiting a year. But at any rate, I know you went through a thoughtful process with your staff about this. And I would say if this is where you've all ended up, then I wouldn't do the half day either, but I think if this is where you all ended up after a thoughtful process and discussion with the staff, then let's try it. And if we don't have any families from Meredith or Center Harbor driving their kids over, I mean, if you're in a half day kindergarten, there's a stay-at-home parent, clearly. So maybe somebody does want to do that and feels that that's
I'm just
an
saying
option, but-
fairness wise, right? I'm just saying, to be fair, Sandwich should have full-time kindergarten, but also you have an option of half-day,
And we don't have that.
And
We do
we
not
don't
have that
have that
option for
option
Meredith,
in
so I'm
Meredith.
just
That's
saying,
going to create conflict. I would say we just do full day.
that's what I would
Yeah,
prefer.
but we'll see, right?
Well, wait.
No, I don't think we should,
I'm not sure
I
we'll
think
see. I think-
equity is a big reason why we're here in the first place. correct?
But
Well,
you just
it's
described
certainly-
equality.
Well, we talked about that at the very beginning of dealing with this whole thing. I think we had full-time, that Sandwich should have full-time. But what I'm saying is if
Again,
you're
that's not
offering a
equity,
half,
that's equality.
that's what I
Equality,
meant,
right.
that's what I meant. But if you do half-time at Sandwich and not in Meredith, I have a hard time with that.
So I don't want to create conflict. I think that the best thing we can do is create full day in Sandwich.
Right.
And if it's going to create conflict, we would propose not to do the half day.
And for 10 years, the Sandwich group that needed or wanted full day has been in that, so it hasn't been equitable for the last,
So I would propose
So
that
anyway.
the board consider
Yeah.
just full day and not we won't offer the half day.
Do you want a motion on this?
We are looking for the board to make a motion this evening. Again, we'd like to get this out to families so we can get prepared for next school year.
I would make a motion to accept a draft proposal as described by Superintendent Moriarty a moment ago. With a full day only,
It says full school day.
and full school day for kindergarten in Sandwich Central School. Does that make sense?
Yeah, school year 2023-24.
Right, sorry. That's my
Is there a
motion.
second?
Just to be clear, so that's not.
Full day, no option
No
of,
option.
Yeah.
I'd second that.
Okay, Charlie?
can I ask Mr. Hilger how do you think that's gonna apply with the folks who've been designing this?
Oh, with the educators?
Yeah,
I think that will be well received.
Okay.
great. That's all I needed to hear.
Just, that's where we throw, do you have a sense of, are you gonna get a lot of incoming heat from parents who are gonna want a half day?
I would base it on the meeting that we had, the sample size, and
Yeah.
there was one family that asked the question. So I think it's gonna be a small impact.
Okay.
The majority was pretty on board.
Okay. All those in favor?
Saying no.
They say no, okay. Okay, moving along.
Thank you.
2022, 2023 fund balance, athletic infrastructure, 225,000, including architecture study of locker rooms. Mrs. Moriarty.
So if you recall last year, for fund balance, the board had approved $225,000 to go towards athletic infrastructure, including an architectural study of the locker rooms. What we are asking the board to do is to expand that architectural study to include other spaces. There are the weight room at the middle high school abuts our life skills and our Laker Learning Lab spaces. We would like the architect to look at how all of that might be able to be reorganized in a fashion that serves maybe a little bit additional room for our athletic trainer, as well as better space use for our life skills and Laker Learning Lab. We also want to look at being able to provide some more single restroom spaces. Obviously, there's, I think in the longer term would be a bigger redesign of our multi-use bathrooms. I'm not proposing that at this stage, but I think there are some spaces that could maybe be transformed into some single bathroom spaces that we can build and then repurpose other spaces. Having an architect's lens to look at that, I think is very beneficial for us. In addition, at Interlakes Elementary School, one of the things that people often think is that with our declining enrollment, shouldn't you have a ton of space? Schools use space in different ways today. You have students who need specific therapies, and you need small spaces to do those therapies. You need private spaces to do certain one-on-one interventions. We need some more spaces like that at ILES. We could put some walls up, but they're not going to be attractive. And I think that we would be impacting the aesthetics, which I think has a feel to it. And I think having an architect to be able to look at that would help us to think about those spaces in a different way. And so what we're looking for is some permission tonight to be able to contract with the architecture firm, which is Chris Williams Architecture. I think you saw that there was a bill in the manifest for the work that they've been doing on the locker room, which we hope to bring to the May meeting. We're still, he's doing some finessing and some conversations. But this will allow us to expand to those other spaces that I've talked about.
Do we have a ballpark budget of how much that's gonna be?
I don't think we have a clear sense. I think we could start by having them maybe start at the middle high would be my first, just because it does interconnect with the athletic and it also with the bathrooms pieces that we've been working on. And see how far that goes, while still reserving some funding to do some athletic work. Infrastructure.
Are they bringing a proposal to the May meeting? Is that?
So they will bring a design for the locker rooms to the May meeting.
Right.
To talk to the board about. I'm hoping that there might be a number attached to that. He may need more time. He did meet with Mr. Swanker, Dr. Downing, Ms. Dumais, and Ms. Temporino, I think, and I, to go over, and Mr. Fenia, to look at where he was at. And then our next goal was to talk to a few of the coaches and the physical education teachers. It's coming together nicely in terms of looking at the whole space is allowing things to be compartmentalized in a different way. So our hope is to have that version of the drawing even further along, so the board can look at that in May, as well as for him to start thinking about what does that cost to do.
But we've already allocated the funds for this design that they're working on right now.
Well, you've allocated a portion of it. I'm sure it's going to be far more expensive. This was some end of year fund balance that was put aside towards it, as well as being able to contract with the architecture.
So the additional design work, they will bring us a proposal at some point that says we could do this for this amount of money.
So we can certainly ask him to put together a proposal, or we could put out a request for proposals. I think it makes sense to keep with the same architecture firm. So we can certainly try to get a better number from them.
I just think, do we need to act on this tonight?
You don't, we can bring you some more information if that's helpful.
Like some more
Yeah.
specific,
Yeah.
just estimates, if
Yeah.
nothing else.
And
Perfect.
what we spent thus far on.
We can do that. Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Because I feel like we've kind of, we're getting nickel and dimed a bit, you know, because we had the bathroom issue come up and then the locker room thing changed. And
Yeah.
all the things make perfect sense, but it would be nice to know how big this cavern is
Great.
Yeah.
before we jump in.
Yeah.
Perfect, we can get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll talk about this at the next meeting.
Yep.
Rotary Youth Exchange application. Motion to approve the Rotary Youth Exchange.
So you have that in your packet. If you want to discuss the individuals, that would be a non-public.
Do you want to make the motion? Is there a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
How many exchange students next year? 3?
Great.
One right now.
Well, yes. You're getting ahead.
Cultural homestay program requests.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second. All the way down here.
There you
Okay.
go.
Second.
Craig. All those in favor?
Discussion.
No, you can't.
Yeah. So is there any discussion?
Yes, if you want to
I think it has
discuss
to
the
be a
individual, that would be a
I think it has
non-public.
to be a non-public though.
Only if it's about the individual,
Right.
you can talk about the
Okay,
program
yes,
in
yes,
general.
yes,
Did you have a point?
Did you have?
Only that we have to, we always should ask the question, is there any discussion? But
Yes.
yeah, I did. I
Sorry.
didn't quite catch what it was because it calls itself a homestay
Yeah,
program.
it's the same.
And we have
It's the
had
same
students, we've
exchange.
had very positive,
We've had
that's why
great
I
success
did it.
probably with
Yeah.
Rotary.
Rotary,
So with
and
both of them.
this is probably,
Third
we
or
might
fourth.
be in year 2 or 3 with cultural homestay, and it's been a positive
So it's
experience.
the same kind of exchange program.
What, just a silly question, what's the economics of an exchange program?
I don't, are you asking like in terms of room and board and tuition?
Tuition, whatever?
Yeah, so you typically, your policy allows you to not charge tuition for an exchange student.
Mhm.
Because we've had some of our students
Mhm.
be exchanged. I personally know. some
Yeah, no, I do
Yeah.
too.
There's that.
So I was just curious, you know, I'm not.
So
nothing
we have
against
not,
it.
there has been no charge relative to anybody for participating.
We're not paying airfare or.
We're not paying
No,
anything.
Rotary
No.
and the families.
We get the benefit of international
And
students.
we've had
That's what I-
families that have to stay in their homes.
Oh, sure. Trust me.
Do we need to go into non-public for this, guys?
No.
No.
Is there any further discussion?
No.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so, we're gonna skip the next attachment 10, right, Mary? Because we're
Yes.
missing some pages.
Yep,
So
we
we'll
will
do
get
that
those
at the next
missing
meeting.
pages.
Okay. And then,
So this is a long one.
yeah.
Oh,
So we've got the school district general assurances, that's attachment number 11 in your packet.
There we go. Good.
Oh, I wish I
Look
even
at all
had
this
that one.
paper we just
So
got.
10, yeah, 10 is
Do I have
on
11?
hold. 11, I
it's
think we
way
have all the
I don't
pages.
Yes.
have it, period.
So
And you'll
we
need to
can-
sign
We'll
every
need to
single
sign.
page.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
Lisa or all of us?
Just Lisa signs or? is it
Just
someone-
Lisa signs.
Yeah, this we've
And,
done.
and I
Yeah,
sign.
we've done this in the past,
Yeah.
but this has all the pages for you guys to read.
So if you're able to approve that this evening, that would be great.
Thank you.
These are all the federal, general assurances that are required for the federal funds we receive. We do our
So
best to meet the regulations.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Any further discussion on this?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
School calendar, attachment number 12
All right.
in your packet.
This is disgusting.
Leader table. What are we doing on Labor Day? Is it after Labor Day?
It's after Labor Day. Teachers start before Labor Day, students start Tuesday after. The calendar is in alignment for the most part with the U at Technical Center, which there is new legislation that you can have a certain number of days that are out of alignment, but the goal is to be as aligned so that you create less disruption.
Question, Mary, just a silly question, but was reading an article about what Munisquam is doing in their vocab. I didn't know if that
So
was
that is, our students are able to,
ag,
yes,
on the
yep,
ag
and they
side.
are expanding their technical,
Yes,
yes.
that was the
Yeah,
crux of it.
which may have an impact on us relative to transportation, just, the more, we have very few students right now that take advantage of the agricultural program.
Right.
But as they're increasing options for their technical center is expanding, we might be having two bigger buses going in two different directions.
Is that because Hewitt doesn't offer what they want, or?
So they were able to take advantage of state funding and being a technical center, and so they will be different programming. They can't do what the UIT is. I think one is going to be cosmetology. One of the
Yeah,
programs.
weren't there a couple? It was pretty well
There,
thought out,
yeah.
I thought.
So it's expanding options, but they will not be competing with each other.
Very good.
Okay.
Since we're in discussion, may I discuss? On this calendar, do we want to put the days that our school board meetings are on? So that,
We can certainly do that.
I put it in my electronic calendar.
I do too.
But in terms of another opportunity to communicate with families,
Right,
this
yeah.
calendar goes.
That's fine, that's a
That's
good
good.
idea, that's a
Good
very
idea.
good suggestion.
Yep,
Oh,
we can
yeah.
do that, and the link down below of where to find the agendas.
Yeah, perfect.
sorry, yes.
Move to approve the calendar with the amended suggestion.
Second.
Of adding this in. Okay, meetings. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
End of year 2022, 2023 school year schedule. Mrs. Moriarty, that's number 13. in
Number
your
13,
packet.
so everybody is eager to know when are we getting out of school this year?
Yeah.
So we are proposing,
July 4th.
we are proposing that the last day of school for students be on Friday, June 23rd, as a half day. Our last day of school is typically a half day. We are proposing that paraeducators not be required to make up the additional snow days. That be in lieu of, that they would be paid for their time, but not be required to work that week. But that teachers would work 3 days the following week. 2 of the days would be focus time to do some professional collaboration. And then 1 day would be their closeout day. If they have completed all their closeout requirements by the 28th, they would need to come to work on the 28th, and suggesting that all teachers and paraeducators have that 6th snow day waived.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, right.
Do we
Told you not to
track
invite
how
me.
many teachers are able to get out of the 28th?
There is a sign out, teachers, there's a sign out process, so we'll be able to figure out, we can certainly,
So do we require them the 26th and 27th no matter what, and it's just the
yes.
28th?
We want to take advantage of that opportunity to have our teaching staff to be able to work together on things.
Okay, so the 28th and the waived school day would be 2 school days that they would essentially get, right?
Potentially, so the 28th, the closeout, closing out your classroom, getting your grades done, all of that. There may be teachers who decide to do that, on a Saturday or a Sunday, so they can take that Wednesday. So what I would say is the work of the Wednesday is work that has to be done. When it gets done does not necessarily,
It should be done by the 28th.
it has to be done by the 28th.
Okay.
Yes, it can be done a certain amount prior to the 28th, but not too far in advance. We don't want anybody closing up their room tomorrow.
That was the point.
So Mary, is that, from what you said, is that a way to make up for some of the lost collaborative planning blocks?
Well, so
potentially?
next
Is that-
year.
Is it that type of work?
It is that type of work, you know,
Okay.
that'll be something that will be planned at the building level. It's not self-directed time, it is, we never have enough time to work
Sure.
together. There may be, and this, I don't know, the NESC work, that may be something that this middle high school wants to use that time for. It may have something to do with literacy or math at the elementary level, but it is a time to have all the people that do, work together to focus on a certain topic.
Thank you.
But this would also then give paraeducators a week of pay without a week of work.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm sure there are lots of people celebrating at this moment.
Yeah.
So now we're down to the Interlinks administrative nominations.
You have a list, and if you have any questions, that would be non-public.
Right, if you have any questions, we'll go into non-public for that, or if we're ready to go with this.
Which one, I'm sorry?
It's letter
Okay,
K,
got it, yeah.
the administrative nomination. So I guess I'm
This
not,
is the.
Motion to
Yeah,
approve.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
okay,
Second.
second, okay, so we can't really discuss, so all those in favor of the nominations?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now at this portion, we're gonna be going into non-public for RSA 91A3C. This includes matters which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board.
Do we still need to go into non?
You do.
Yeah.
Well, you have some teacher nominations. We've been
Sorry.
working very hard to hire. I would like to just review them with you.
Right,
Yep.
so,
I move.
wait a minute.
Second.
Did we-
Shall I hold the board?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you to do that.
I'm doing it without my list. Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Porter Zucker.
Yes.
Ms. Balaj.
I'm here.
Ms. Carmen.
Yes.
Mr. Billings. Ms. Merrill.
Yes.
I'm yes.
Okay, so all those in favor of going into non-public?
We just did that.
Yeah,
We just did it. We just said
Okay,
yes.
So now we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're good to go.
Okay.